dear. So, in the last episode, we spoke about modernism, and we said that in terms of the novel's development, World War One marks a fundamental break between the old world and the new. For many people, the experience of the war, in which millions had been killed, shattered that faith in society and its institutions. Uh, the modernists, horrified by the effect of war and mechanized society in general, were interested in recovering the unique experience of the individuals by exploring and recreating their inner world. We said that now the writers, they don't explore outside, but the land to discover is inside themselves, is the inner self. So, the modernist novel overturned most of the conventions which had typified Victorian fiction. The coordinates of the Victorian moral universe, which corresponded to a precise idea of how society should be, collapsed and were replaced by a climate of moral ambiguity or even by a sense of emptiness, which signaled an absence of fixed values. All this was reflected in the themes of most modernist novels. From a stylistic point of view, modernist novels broke new ground in two particular aspects. First of all, the omniscient narrator as moral and spiritual guide disappeared, and it was replaced by the direct or indirect presentation of characters, thoughts, feelings, or memories. Secondly, many modernist novels no longer followed a linear plot or a chronological sequence of events. The idea of progress, which lay behind the novel's linear plot, um, gave way to the idea of duration, of freezing and examining what Virginia Woolf called moments of being. So a novel could be set in one day, while the analysis of a single moment could tell us more about the character than a traditional narrative life story. Also, we spoke about the theories of Freud, Bergson, and James, and also about the new technologies of mass culture that led to the development of new techniques of writing. One of these is the stream of consciousness. James Joyce and Virginia Woolf are among the greatest writers that used the stream of consciousness fiction. Stream of consciousness fiction makes use of many techniques. The most significant are the direct interior monologue, called also free direct speech, which refers to the direct presentation of characters' stream of consciousness without the guiding presence of an author or a narrator. The most famous example is Molly Bloom's monologue in the Ulysses written by Joyce. In this monologue, it seems that we enter directly into Molly's thoughts without any external point of view. Secondly, we have the indirect interior monologue or free and direct speech, which refers to indirect presentation of a character's thoughts filtered through the voice of an anonymous narrator. This type of monologue is often easier to read because includes often passages that are more descriptive or also explanations. This is something that is used in combination with direct interior monologue. An example of this indirect interior monologue can be found in Virginia Woolf, Mrs. Dalloway, or in To the Lighthouse. James Joyce and Virginia Woolf are among the greatest practitioners of stream of consciousness fiction. but they are different in the approach to the question of how to represent the stream of consciousness. Because in James Joyce we find the possibilities and limitations of language in all its forms and modes, both graphic and sonic. In Virginia Woolf, instead, she's more interested in the fluidity of identity and the relationships which exist between people and things. Um, this we see it in Joyce. Joyce characters, like in the novel Ulysses, they all have each character as a different style of consciousness, and this difference is the result of different factors like social class or sex or educational background. While in Virginia Woolf writing, we find a sort of a unique stream of consciousness that is the impersonal force of life that is passing through and between our characters. Anyway, despite modernist innovations, conventional novels continue to be written in this period as they still are today. Modernism was just one way of writing, and only a certain number of authors followed this new current. Um, Anyway, let's say that the spirit of the English novel, as we know it traditionally, continued. The novels of Edward Morgan Foster, we spoke already about him with the book A Passage to India or A Room with a View. Also, Graham Greene contain both a mix of realist and modernist techniques and style too. Um, this it's a mix that continued and still exists in contemporary fiction. Forster, for example, dealt with the themes of the relationship of the individuals to society, the clash of cultures, and the racism. But the traditional novel with linear narrative existed in this time and found new possibilities in the novels of Aldous Huxley's, like in the New World, or the prophetic novel of George Orwell, dystopian fables. In other authors like Joseph Conrad, there's another point of view that is different because if modernist writers thought that the narrator was an outdated concept, Conrad chose to complicate the narrative by adopting a multiple points of view technique. In many of Conrad's novels, we have a narrator who is also a character in the story. And by doing this, Conrad questions both the narrator's authority and the idea of a narrative realism. Because the narrator of Conrad cannot be fully trusted. What it does not say, what lies in the gaps and silence of the narration is important as much as what it does say. Often the story is not told in a linear way, but includes flashbacks and time shifts, which make it difficult to interpret. The modernism of Conrad novel lies in the gaps and silences in the text. All these gaps and silence indicate things that cannot be said or represented. Conrad is also one of the first writers to portray colonialism in a state of crisis, and his novels anticipated the collapse of the British Empire. But we'll speak about Conrad in a better way in the next video.